Okay, so this video will be giving you answers to Module 8 for IM2, the first page, number 1 through 12. You may go back to this video to see the answers for these questions anytime. So I'm just going to quickly go down the list to answer each question. Number 1, what are the zeros of this function? So to get the zero, we must set it equal to 0, and therefore we have two expressions that can come out of it. 2x plus 3 equal to 0. To solve for x, we subtract 3, and we have 2x equals negative 3. Dividing by 2, we have x equals negative 3 over 2, and that's one of the zeros. The other one is x minus 5 equal to 0. So we have x is actually equal to 5 by adding both sides. So the zeros are actually 5 and negative 3, 2. So that looks like A is the answer. Number 2, what is the correct factorization? So since we know that there's actually a common common factor, we can use distributive property to factor out the x minus 2. So we're going to rewrite this as x minus 2. After you take that out, you still have 6 left and plus y. So this would be the complete factorization for that expression, and it looks like B is the answer. Number 3, what is the correct factorization of this expression here? So trying to factor this simple standard form quadratic expression, we don't have any numbers in front of the x squared, so we can just actually look at the last sign. Since that is positive, it tells us that the signs will be the same. And looking at the second sign, it tells us that both of them are positive. And to get x squared, we have x and x. That's the only way to split it up. And so we need two numbers that multiply to get 8, but add up to get 6. So that would be 4 and 2, because 4 times 2 is 8, and 4 plus 2 is 6. So that would be 4 and 2, and it looks like C is the correct answer. Number 4, factor and solve the expression. So again, we can factor this first on the left-hand side. The last sign is minus, tells us that the sign must be different. And then we have x and x. Two numbers that multiply to get 30, and the difference is 7, would be 3 and 10. And we want negative 10 and positive 3, because negative 10 plus 3 is equal to negative 7, and that's the middle term. So that is the correct factorization. So to get the answer for this expression, we have x is equal to, taking opposite, negative 3, and opposite of negative 10 is positive 10. So it looks like 10 and negative 3 are the answers. So that would be B. Number 5, what are the solutions? Again, we need to actually factor this equation, and we have the signs are different because of that last sign, and then x and x, two numbers that multiply to get 6, and the difference is 1 are 2 and 3. We want negative 1, so that would be 3 is negative, 2 is positive, and now we can take the opposite to get the solutions, which will be negative 2 and 3, and that looks like B as well. Number 6, what is the correct factorization? And so this one actually has a number in front of the x squared. So we're going to have to use the crisscross spider method. To get 3x squared, we can try 3x and x. And then the signs are both same, and they're both positive. We need two numbers that multiply to get 8, and we need to test this out. So let's just try 2 and 4, because 2 times 4 is 8, and they're both positive. So we need to actually test this factor. So cross multiplying, I have 3x times 4, that is 12x, and then plus 2x, that's going to give me 14x, which is what I want for the middle term. So this is actually the correct factoring, which is 3x plus 2 and x plus 4, and that looks like it's B as well. And number 7, what are the solutions? Again, this one has a number in front, but if you take a look at all the terms, they all actually have a 2 in there. So this is actually can be simplified by dividing everything by a 2, and that will make the problem actually simpler. So we can just divide and we get x squared plus 2x minus 3 equals to 0. And therefore, we're going to factor this into, signs are going to be different because of the last sign here. And then we have x and x. 1 and 3 is the only way to factor 3. And we need 3 to be positive because we want a positive 2. So 3 minus 1 is 2. And the answers turn out to be opposite, which is negative 3 and 1. And that's A. Number 8, what are the factors? And this one actually has a number in front of the x squared. And so we actually have to factor the long way. Let's use this crisscross spider method again. So we have 5x and x. That's the only way we can get 5x squared. We need the signs to be different, and 3 and 1 looks like it's the only way. So let's try 1 and 3 and negative 3. Let's cross multiplying it, and we have 5x times 3, that's negative 15x, and then plus x, which gives us the negative 14x that we need in the middle. So we know that the correct factorization is 5x plus 1 and x minus 3, and that looks like answer choice B. Number 9, which method could be used to factor? And this looks like it's a difference of squares, so we can actually easily recognize that and factor that into x plus 5 and x minus 5. So we can actually factor by difference of square. And number 10, which of the following polynomial is a difference of square? Again, for it to be a difference of square, we need a minus sign in the middle and only 2 terms. So this one is automatically out because it has 3 terms. And we need both of them to be perfect squares. And that 5 is not a perfect square, neither is 10. So that one is out. And that only leaves B, which is going to be a 4x squared minus 1 squared. So those are both perfect squares. So the answer is B. Number 11, which of the following polynomial is a perfect square trinomial? So perfect square trinomial means 3. So we're going to need 3 terms. So A is not a trinomial. And in order for it to be a perfect trinomial, we need to actually have the first term is a perfect square, which this one is, and this one is. But we got to test the middle. So we will multiply the middle. We get 8x, and we're going to double that. It is, it should be a 16x. The only problem with that is when you square the 8 at the end, it should be a positive 64, not negative. So that one is actually out as well. So the last answer we're going to check to see if this is what we want. So perfect square would be 2x squared and then a 6 at the end for the 36. Multiplying the 2, we would have 12x. And if we double it, we would have the 24x that we need. And the last sign is positive. So it looks like C is the answer. And number 12, what is the complete factorization? Looks like this is 2 terms with a minus sign. So let's check to see if this is a difference of square. 25x squared is actually 5x squared. And then 36 is actually 6 squared. So in fact, this is a difference of square, and you can factor that into 5x plus 6 and 5x minus 6. And that is the end of side 1 for number 1 through 12.